I'd like to take a moment to share with you a very interesting conversation that I had with a couple recently. It's my hope that what I shared with this couple is a help to you the way it was to them. She's 38, he's 41. They have been seeing each other for 13 months. And she started the conversation by saying, Doc, I reached out to you because I've expressed frustration with him regarding the direction of our relationship. And she said and made it clear that she's not trying to press a relationship or title or even marriage for that matter from him, but wandering aimlessly isn't working for her either. And after giving me that exact quote, I said, I understand where you're coming from. And I said, but I want you to be even more specific than that. Have you said to him what your intentions are? She said, I have. And she said, he calls it pressure, but I call it direction. I don't need necessarily a title, though a title would be nice to at least have an idea of what we're doing. But even if I don't have a title, let me know what we're doing. I said, sir, is that true? He said, yes, sir, it's true. She has been saying that. I said, what's been the problem? And he said, well, I understand that. And I just want things to evolve and develop as they should, Doc. It's not that I'm not trying to give her a title or anything like that. I just want things to evolve. And she said, well, Doc, I just want to know where we stand and what we are. And that doesn't mean I need a title, but I do need direction. I said, well, it sounds like you all are saying different things. And so I understand that. I said, are you exclusively dating? She said, yes. He said, yes. After her, there was a pause. I don't always pay attention to pauses and things like that. I recognize when I meet people in this space, they're just meeting me and getting used to me. But there was a pause when he said it. And her yes was very firm. His yes was okay. And I said to him, in all honesty, I said, sir, I've been doing this a long time. And I have in this space been deceived by even the most convincing yeses that I've received. I said, so you're telling me the truth that you're not seeing anyone else, correct? He said, yes, sir. And I said, ma'am, you're telling me the truth that you're not seeing anyone else. You guys are dating exclusively, correct? She said, yes, sir. He said, Doc, I just believe in discretion. At the end of the day, I believe in discretion and I believe in keeping things private until the right time. And I don't see a problem with that. I said, sir, I don't disagree with you. I said, I think social media has forced a lot of people to put things in public prematurely. I think social media has forced a lot of people to create labels for their relationships prematurely because I think a lot of people are more interested in likes than love. And this is a sign of the times that we're in. So I agree with that. And I don't have a problem with people taking their time to get to social media and making things public, official, whatever way you want to word it in terms of a title until things are solid. So I understand that. I said, but there's some other things that need to be considered as well. I said, I want to give you guys 3 things to consider. I said, number one, what's at play at this is also masculine, feminine energy. I said, because the fact of the matter is a woman, especially a feminine woman, doesn't always know what she wants. And that's a natural part of her femininity. She can be very indecisive. And a lot of times that is connected to her emotions, and feminine women tend to operate in an emotional space. And that's not a negative thing. It is a way they were made kind of thing. And men who are operating in their masculine energy tend to have a strong desire to want to know. And so this is important from a masculinity standpoint, because when a man knows anything, it creates assurance for the people around him. I said, sir, does that make sense? He said it did. I said, so a man can function without knowing, but deep down inside, he's going to want to know because he recognizes that when he knows, and especially in the context of a relationship, when he's sure about anything, it automatically brings her peace. I said, does that make sense? She interrupted and said, Doc, it makes perfect sense to me. And maybe I would just relax if I knew. He looked at her and you could tell he was getting frustrated. And I said, what part of that don't you understand, sir? He said, Doc, I understand it, but it still feels like pressure. I said, the pressure you're feeling is her inability to relax because of your lack of assurance that you're giving her. Does that make sense at all? He said, I guess if you put it that way, it does. I said, understand this. Women can function without knowing. A feminine woman can function without knowing. But, a lot of people get offended when I say that women don't always know what they want. It's the truth. I can't tell you the countless amount of women that I've been around who will change their mind 10 times about what they want for dinner. And the only people that get offended by that are people that try to call me a misogynist or things like that. I said, it's just good old fashioned men are from Mars, women are from Venus information that I think everybody should understand. And it doesn't make them inferior and it doesn't make men superior. It just makes us different. I said, but sir, you're not getting the best relaxed version of her because she has no direction, and direction is at the core of masculine energy, which means, sir, you're not operating in your masculinity if you can't at minimum give her direction. She said, Doc, that's all I've been trying to say. I said, let me give you the second one. I said, I want both of you to understand that labels matter. Recently, I was in a neighborhood market. I'll just say that instead of saying the store. And they were rearranging the store. And this was maybe 2 months ago. I'll take that back. Maybe 2 months ago. And in doing so, they completely pulled up all the shelves. And when they pulled up all the shelves, they rearranged the places where all the items were. And this was a process that they were doing for about a week and a half. Well, I go in this store almost every single day, it feels like. And when I first went in, there was chaos because everything that I was used to seeing where it was no longer there. It had been moved and they did not have the aisle labels at the top. So I remember going maybe 2 weeks after they had started this, they still didn't have the aisle labels. And I remember being in the checkout line and a lady in front of me was complaining to the cashier and said to the cashier, when are you guys going to have the aisle labels? I live around here. I can never find what I need. It takes me forever to find it because, there are no labels. I don't know where to go. And, she wasn't rude, but she was very direct. And the cashier said something that I think was profound because, I was sitting there thinking, well, eventually I got used to where things are. The more I came and, started coming into the store, though I didn't have the aisle labels, but I had to guess on my own. And it would have been nice to have some help, i.e. aisle labels to know where things are. Well, the cashier listened to this lady complain. And then she said, well, ma'am, I apologize for the inconvenience for the signs. They are running late because of a storm that happened down in the south. But she said to her, you may want to visit another store with the signs in place if this location can't provide you the certainty you need. She started to tear up. I said, sir, I think she gets it. Do you understand what I'm saying? He said, I'm not all the way sure. I said, she might need to leave. If her engaging with you is not giving you the certainty that she needs, it doesn't make you a bad store. It doesn't make her a bad customer. It could make y'all a bad match. He said, wow. She just started boohooing crying. I said, that leads me to the third thing. I said, the third thing I need you both to really consider. And I said, I want to ask you, sir, again, are you seeing anyone else or entertaining anyone at all? He paused. He said, I'm not seeing anyone. I said, are you entertaining anyone? He said, I have people that are interested. I said, does she know that? He paused and said, I think she does. I said, does she know it or not? He said, she knows it. I said, ma'am, do you know this? She said, yes, sir. I know that some people are interested. I didn't know about the entertaining. I said, sir, the third thing I need you to know is that the difference between discretion and deception is honesty. I don't have a problem with discretion, but a lot of people that are screaming they want to keep things hidden until a better time are not only hiding the person that they're involved with, a lot of times they're hiding a whole lot of other people too. I said, sir, I'm not accusing you of going that far, but understand that after 13 months, a man whose main goal typically is to want to know and be sure if he doesn't know by this time, I don't know how long it's supposed to take, but I will say that if you cannot be completely honest with her about where you are and where things stand, this might not be the relationship with you. And I got to say that as a result of this call, they ended up splitting apart, and I believe it was the best decision. I hope this was a help. I hope this video made sense. If it did, type church in the comments with 3 R's. And then remember, you've got 2 jobs. 1, be better today than what you were yesterday. And 2, don't forget what I told you. What's up, everybody? This is Dr. Zeb. Listen, I've been dying to make this announcement for a very long time now, and I'm pleased to say that Inspire Nation has officially launched. Yes, we finally got a Facebook and YouTube community group where we're going to have exclusive content, exclusive shorts, exclusive discussion prompts where we're going to engage with other people literally around the world who are on the same healing journey that we're on. I need you to go find these pages right now on Facebook and YouTube. Inspire Nation, follow the page, join the group, introduce yourself, and be prepared to link up with literally thousands of people around the world who are on the same healing journey, who are looking for the same resources, and who want to also be surrounded with other like-minded individuals who are growing in the same direction as you are. I'm so excited about this because it's the beginning of some great things I can't talk about right now. Listen, you got two jobs. One, be better today than what you were yesterday. And two, don't forget what I told you.